Traditionally, one of the problems with forehands for people is that it turns too much left and right to throw down a tight gap, or in a situation where you can't afford to miss right or left and possibly be out of bounds or in big trouble. Seeing as at the moment, I don't have the luxury of throwing a backhand to get a disc to go dead straight, I had to find a way to fix that. So in my opinion, there are three reasons that happens. One is off-axis torque, two is the angle of release, and three is actually disc selection. That's one that a lot of people don't think about, but it's helped me a ton. So to make it simple, 1 and 2 can actually be handled by the same thing. So if a disc ever wobbles, it's because you're putting pressure in a vertical direction, up or down, on the top or the bottom of the flight plate. So what I do, just tilt it, throw it on hyzer, and throw it hard, let it flip up. So if it's on hyzer, even if the pressure is vertical, it's going to be more towards the rim than it otherwise would be. Look at it this way versus this way. So less off-axis torque means less wobble. So the other thing that helps with is you're still inevitably going to have some wobble. Make the wobble turn it from this to this instead of this to this. Starting it on hyzer is going to allow it to stay straighter in the flight. So as it flips up to flat, it's going to stay straighter until that point, and then you'll get a little baby turn, and then it'll be flat, and then it'll fade out. Whereas starting it flat, it immediately starts turning, keeps turning, gets the full flight, and then comes back. Lastly, disc selection. Now this one has an A and B to it. A, finding a disc that can handle off-axis torque pretty well. Now what we're looking for there is a disc that has a lot of the weight up near the top. So if you look at this one, next to this one, there are obvious differences. So right here, this is a Gateway Prophecy. You can see really, really flat, and the rim, it's really high. Now this one right here, it's an Iron Samurai 3. You can see that there's a little bit of a dome to it, and you can see the weight on the edge on the rim is moved down towards the center of the height of the disc a little bit. So without going into the physics of it, mainly because I don't know how to explain that part of things, the weight being moved down on the edge towards the bottom of the disc and having more dome makes it less torque resistant. Those discs have the exact same flight numbers. If you throw them backhand, they might move exactly the same in the air. But if you throw them forehand, I guarantee you they won't. The Iron Samurai 3 is much more likely to wobble out of your hand than the Gateway Prophecy will. And now for 3B, this is my favorite one that I want people to try out. I don't think enough people have tried to do this. So many people think and teach that slow and controlled is the way to go. Fast and controlled can be better in a lot of cases though. You always want to have control with everything, but there's a reason why a lot of the pros throw the slowest disc they can that'll still make it to the target. For this specific topic and problem, I want you to take a step down in speed and 1 step up in stability. What I'm doing in all of these clips is taking a disc that's normally thought of as too stable and too slow for the shot and overpowering it. Normally I'm throwing a 2-speed like a 5-speed, a 4-speed like a 6 or 7-speed, 8 or 9-speed like a 12-speed, and then a 12-speed just as hard as I possibly can. Now what that's going to do is it's going to be much, much less likely to turn and burn over on you because of the stability of the disc. It's not going to get a bunch of turn, but because you're overpowering the speed, it's not going to fade out as early either. So it stays much, much straighter, much, much longer. That's just my experience, and I think it'll help a lot of people, but I don't think that people are trying that out because they've been taught, and this is correct in a lot of cases, but they've been taught to throw it slower and controlled. If you can control faster, then you might see it stay much, much straighter on a forehand for you to hit those tunnels or be much less afraid to miss on that left or right side when there's danger. I want to make it very clear that control is still the most important thing. Doesn't matter what you can do with the disc in the flight if you can't control where it goes. But you might find that you can control a little bit more speed, and that may help you do some of these things I talked about.